Hey, welcome to Decision Tree Diagrams. This is going to be a conditional procedure. We have procedures, but this one is dependent upon different conditions that we go through. Let's take a look. So for example, there's polarity, right? If you start with the type of bonds, you can separate that type of bonds. Does it have the right geometry? Does it have terminal atoms, meaning at the end if they're all the same, nonpolar? If they were different, they could be polar. So this is a way to decide if something is polar or nonpolar. You could also start off, am I hungry? If the answer is no, go to sleep. This is of course late at night. Yes, well, now we go into money. Do you have enough? And if that's no, you can continue on down this path. You want to go on vacation, right? Where do you want to go? You got your possible choices or decisions, right? You want to go camping, visit family, or go to Europe. Where do you want to go? What kind of family? What kind of camping? And these are some outcomes that you could have. So we see a little variety in these decision trees. Able to fly? True. Lays eggs? True, it's a bird. False, it could be a mammal like bats. Has feathers? True, bird. False, mammal. So a lot of these ideas is making different jumps based. So what are some similarities and differences between the ones that we've seen so far? Well, some similarities are they start with simple questions and separate possibilities. That's what they all do. They grow larger the more you ask, so they kind of spread out. They also have questions and layers to them. Kind of once you've asked a question, you're now into a next layer. Some differences, well, we saw different questions, different choices, different orientations, some went left to right, top down, bottom left, and some different outcomes, right? They all have different endings, so to speak. So let's take a look at some areas in which we could look at procedures themselves. Now, these are procedures that we've already had some time with. They direct us to do actions. We only think about how to carry out the action. It says cut the bread, we cut the bread. It says slice the cheese, we slice the cheese. There's no change in actions based off of new information. So if you cut the cheese that you're making a sandwich for a procedure and it starts melting, it doesn't have anything new for you to do. You can just keep going with what you had for the procedure. We don't think about what the result be while doing the action. It's like just follow directions, right? It's like what your teachers always tell you. You follow directions, you'll be fine. They do lead us to a conclusion, but we need to process the data itself. We need to go through calculations, compare it to other results, a whole bunch of stuff in order for us to see what result did we actually get. All right, so a procedure can be conditional. You first start with a question that can have multiple answers. Then list the possible answers. Then 3, develop criteria, questions, or tests, like if we're talking about chemistry, that will lead you to all possible answers. So let's look over an example here. Copy down this example. So you see we've got a simple question. You have some possible answers, and again, your answers could very easily differ. And then kind of criteria or questions that make a difference to determine these possibilities. So once we have this, we can go through and make a decision tree or flow chart, however you want to call it. Let's take a look. So I chose to start off, of course, with what to eat. Those are our possibilities. I chose what day of the week. I could have started with weather, but I chose to start there. So that separates it into the weekend or the weekday. Now, I chose to have the same question here for weather. It doesn't have to be. It could be about spending. Doesn't matter. I chose what's the weather. If it was hot weather on the weekend, I feel like eating salads. If it's hot weather, if it's on the weekend and we got cold weather, I'll feel like something a little warmer for burgers. On the weekday, I have different moods, different desires. If it's cold weather, I feel like having something warm for Indian. If it's hot weather, during the weekday, I might go, I'm more curious, I'm more frugal, and I want to spend a little less. If I want to spend a lot, I'll go with Chinese. If I want to go something a little cheaper, I'll go with Mexican. So this is all made from our previous criteria. I got my question, I got my answers, you find those at the bottom, and all of my questions are used here. Now, I used all of my questions, but I don't have to, okay? I don't have to come to that conclusion. So, let's have a chemistry type. You've got some here, and I want you to pause this and make an example of a flow chart. So take a moment to do that. So you should have come up with something that's similar to this. So we're starting off with the element, right? So does it have measurable properties? If it doesn't, it's got to be man-made. If it does, I continue on with a further question. Does it conduct electricity? I see that nonmetals do not, so that would separate that out by itself. If it does, I have to continue going with my remaining choices. If it's a high conductor of heat, that would make it a metal. So a metal is a high conductor of heat that does conduct electricity and has measurable properties. A metalloid is a high conductor of heat that conducts electricity and has measurable properties. Not a high conductor of heat. I could have chosen different questions. So if you did, that doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong, but you could see at the end of my tree, I have my 4 possibilities. So, what is a cation afraid of? A dog ion, of course. Try a flowchart of something based upon your life. Remember the 3 simple criteria. Start with a question, list all the possible answers, and develop criteria, questions, or tests in order to separate your possible answers. Come in with any kind of questions, and I'll hope to see you soon. Take care.